I am Feasel the Beast, and this is Shoot the Messenger. Let's get straight into this topic. I was asked to do a somewhat of I guess you could say a touchy subject. Kind of not really. Let's go with very relevant, a talked about subject that I guess people haven't really found the answer to. So we're gonna get my opinion on this one, and this one is why we ignore the red flags in a person or of a person or about a person, even when we see them. You know what I mean? Like that's a hard one. That's kind of a hard one, and it took me a while to get to this point to make this video, because I actually had to sit and I think about it for a couple of days and try to figure out why. And I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is humans are fucking stupid. I mean, there's no real nice way to put that. As humans, we're fucking stupid. But I guess the more sugar-coated version, or the more in-depth version, I don't want to say sugar-coated because that's just not me. So the more in-depth version of why we tend to ignore red flags about a person is really the mind, the body, and the heart. Those are your three things that tend to control these decisions and these outcomes for us to do the things that we do. We can see, you know, a bad sign in a person, but to be honest with you, I don't necessarily think that we ignore them. We accept them because we see the potential in a person of what they can be. The problem is, usually, when we see this type of potential in a person, they don't want to see it. And I'm not sure why, but most of the times when you're in a situation where you, let's say, fall in love with the potential a person has rather than who they are at that moment, you just accept what comes along with them. Most people do not have any any intention of changing who they are, and that is where a problem comes in at. When a person is who they are, they've accepted, not only accepted, but embraced who they are at that point in time. They don't want to change who they are. They think in their mind, this is their usual thought process, well, they like me for who I am right now, so I don't have to change anything about myself because this is who they like. You know, they like me like this, and they knew I was like this, and the blah, 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 and so forth and so on. Those type of people are some of the most negative people in the world, because they have absolutely no intention of growing. They have no intention of being a better version of themselves ever. Now, this is the problem with those type of people. They don't see it being a good enough thing to elevate themselves in order to accommodate who you need for them to be. That's a very negative thing. But usually the person that ignores the red flags, if you will, or rather accept these things, think like, well, I'm good enough for this person to not necessarily change, because we shouldn't want people to, or we shouldn't try to force people to change. Rather, they should want to change on their own. But we the people that see those red flags, I gotta stop saying that. We accept these negative traits that they have in order to motivate them. I think in our subconscious we really don't say it, but we really feel that we're good enough people for a person to feel like I need to elevate myself in order to keep this person. Then when it doesn't work, it's like, damn, I wasn't good enough for this person for them to try and be better, because that's all I really wanted for them to be. We see what we see. There's no real way, in my opinion, that you can just ignore. So that's why I say accept. Because to see it, you can't really ignore these things. But you also see the good in a person. So seeing a good in a person will make you stick around and put forth more effort. You're fighting for this person more than they're fighting for themselves. They see no better version of themselves while you do, and you don't even think to communicate this with that person in most instances, or from what I've seen. Most times you don't look to communicate any of these attributes to this person, and even sometimes on rare occasions that you do, they don't believe you. Most people have been so misused in situations that they have relationship PTSD. And that relationship PTSD carries over into every other relationship that they could possibly be in. Most people end up being in relationships with people that don't see a future with them. I have no idea why that is, but that's usually the case. You want to be with this person, that person wants to be with you, you want to be with them for longevity or an elongated amount of time, and they only see you for the moment. They're in it for the fun. But our hearts don't really think. Most people act off of emotion, and they don't take the time to weigh the good and the bad, the pros and cons of the situation, the possible outcomes of these possible situations with people, because people are going to do what it is that they're going to do. Nobody can make another person be a better person. That person has to want to be a better person in order for them to do it. They may use you as motivation if they so choose to, but in most instances, there's nothing that you can do about it as a person, because you're nothing but a person. You're not a god. You don't have, godlike powers to make somebody do something. So it's a real hard thing to describe as to why we do what we do, but we're impulsive. Human nature is to be impulsive. It's been instilled in us over years through the TV shows and the music that we've listened to growing up and so forth and so on. So you can find literally the smallest attribute, but it's so fucking beautiful to you that everything else about this person doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say doesn't matter, but that one portion that's so beautiful to you, it outweighs all of their negative, right? But within themselves, that negative outweighs that good that you see. And that's kind of why we accept those negative traits that a person has. And if I'm being blunt about the situation, anybody that does not see themselves as being a better person is a very immature being. Only thing they can see is what's right in front of them. They literally can't see anything better within themselves as far as their actions, their mannerisms, the way they carry themselves and so forth and so on. Then they're an immature being. And it's not the person's fault who wants to be with them or sees that small good quality that could flourish into something else. And it's crazy is what it is. That person that can't see these good things within themselves, they dwell on something that happened to them that had absolutely nothing to do with you. So it's just, this video is more so kind of explaining both sides of it. There's no fault on the person that sees this in them. You're probably the better person for that. Now, how you go about it will make you the good or bad person. How you try to go about getting them to understand what it is that you see within them. But that's the reason that we accept these flaws. You know, we want to see that person be what we would need for them to be in our lives over a period of time. And to an extent, that's selfishness in itself. But it is for the greater good, so to me it's a little more understandable. Whereas for other people, they see it as just being selfish, and there's literally, you know, I guess a multitude of different ways that you could think about this and say, well, this person is selfish for this, or this person is selfish for that, or the exact opposite of that. You know, it's really up to the person and their thought process. But we see what we see, and it may just be on the surface of what we see. So this person could have done something as small as giving you a compliment. Let's say that. This person has given you a compliment in which you've never received before from somebody that you were actually interested in. And that is the one thing that you hold on to. That is a problem within a lot of people. They go off of that one thing and they hold on to that one thing, hoping that that one thing blossoms into something else from another side, or even if it's 2 or 3 things, they hope that those 2 or 3 things blossom into something bigger. This is where you see the potential at, because that person was able to make you feel something that you've either never felt before or haven't felt in a long time. Something that is foreign to you. You maybe felt this once before. Somebody made you feel this way once before. Or they made you feel something entirely different that you did not think you were capable of feeling, from doing something that you didn't think that a person could do and make you feel that way. We gravitate towards the things that are different to us, the things that stand out to us. So because we gravitate toward these things, those are the things that we hold on to. Most of those negative traits that we see within people are things that we've dealt with before. The only problem is when you see the good in that person and you dwell on that, and you accept the not so good things, the more negative attributes of this person, once these negative attributes start to outweigh the good, this is when things start to fall apart. Because again, that person, I don't know why, but it seems like the human nature is when a person gravitates towards you, you push away from them. And when you push away from them, they want you more. And then you want them less. So it's like this never-ending cycle. And I think a lot of that has to do with how do I put this? I think a lot of that has to do with unsettled issues. Let's call it that. I think a lot of that has to do with unsettled issues from usually past relationships. Somebody is always getting hurt, or that person that you see that good in that won't give you their all, but you can see it in them, but they won't give it to you. 9 times out of 10, they've given it to somebody else, and somebody else completely abused that. You know what I mean? So now they're so guarded because they feel like if they do it again, and they probably don't even think about this like consciously, it's literally usually subconsciously, so they act on a subconscious thought or feeling to where they don't want that. They don't want to go through that again. They don't want to hurt again. So now all of these random walls and blockades pop up, you know, hurdles and shit like that you got to jump through. There's no real answer as to how you combat this, because the more you push from a person that does not see what you see in them, the more they're going to pull away from you. That's the way things are. I don't think that it's right. I don't think that it's fair. I don't think that people should handle situations like that. I really don't. But for the most part, that is the way that things have worked out. So when you're in a situation with a person who continues to pull away from you because you've gotten too close, and that's another thing. People pull away from people who get too close to them. They're not used to somebody who makes them smile on a regular basis, or makes them laugh on a regular basis, or makes them feel loved on a regular basis, make them feel liked on a regular basis, make them feel appreciated on a regular basis, make them feel wanted on a regular basis. And I can keep on going on with this, but you get my drift. Most people aren't used to that. So when they see that, it scares the living fucking shit out of them. They probably never admit it because they're too immature to realize why they even feel the way that they feel. Most of the negative, when they're pulling away, they have no idea why. They can give you every bullshit ass excuse in the book, and they really have no idea why it is that they're reacting this way to something that's supposed to be good, because they're so used to negative shit, right? Those people have no fucking clue. They're immature. They haven't looked within themselves to figure out what has harmed them so much to the point to where they have every guard known to man up, every fucking brick wall and electric fences and all of this other extra shit that's completely unnecessary because they don't want to get hurt again. They don't know. They don't know because they haven't dealt with these inner issues. And then they go and they jump into another relationship with another person who is really good for them, but they can't see past their bullshit. They can't see past their past. It's a problem. This is why we gravitate toward the things that we do. We see the good in them. We see the potential in them, and we ignore the negative signs. But I will say this. In most instances where you're talking about the negative signs, those people can't even tell you they have those instances. They can't tell you they have those characteristics or traits that come along with them because they don't realize that they've, started a pattern. They just keep on doing the same shit over and over and over and over again. They'll date the same person in a different body, and those are the ones that last the longest for them because that's what they're used to. When they actually start dating a person that's not what they're used to, it scares the shit out of them. Excuse me. When a person starts dating a person that, they really care for type of shit, you're going to tend to hold on to that person knowing that they have these negative attributes because you see in them what they can't see in themselves. So my advice is this. Communication in the beginning is key. People need to start having those extremely difficult conversations in the beginning. That way, down the line, there's no hiccups, there's no headaches, there's no surprises because you already know, right? And that means that you decided to continue to deal with said person knowing that they have these issues, right? Some people aren't willing to deal with those. Some people aren't willing to face those. And when they aren't willing to face them shits, a lot of problems come about. Modern problems require modern solutions. We don't have to deal with a lot of the shit that we deal with, but it's human nature. Opposites attract, as they say. It's literally what it is. So until people start dealing with their personal issues, this is going to be a reoccurring thing. It's always going to happen like this until people literally get to a point of maturity where they can deal with their fucking issues and not take it out on the person that actually gives a shit about them. This is going to be a reoccurring thing. This is not what makes the world turns. People have to really start looking within themselves and finding the bullshit. The easiest person to lie to on this earth is yourself. If you cannot tell yourself the truth, you're going to lie to everybody else around you because you're so used to lying to your fucking self. Until you start telling the truth to yourself, about yourself, for yourself, you're going to be the same shitty person that you've always been. And it's going to be, oh, well, I don't know why I'm like this, bitch, because you haven't looked within. The problem usually lies within. Until you do that, you're going to be a fucking problem. A miserable, lonely dumbass. Because you continue to push the people away that actually give a shit about you. That's the way the cookie crumbles. You don't have to like the message, so you can always shoot the message. Peace.
Number hustle, yeah. Marduk, Eddie G, hustle, number one.
That's all we know. Yeah, number hustlers, trappers, ballers, never grind. Yeah, 365 grind, thugging on. Yeah.